Welcome, welcome. Good evening to all you lovely people out there. You know who I am. I am the boogeyman of the game. And to my hostess over here, my colleague and good compadre, she's the queen of snark. There goes Yaya.
Hello and good evening.
Yaya, it's been an interesting go in the world these last couple of weeks, hasn't it? The discourse and conversations that have been taking place. You care to chime in?
The lovely world of social media is always entertaining, to say the least, amongst current events. But it's entertaining
Yeah.
and highly
Mhm.
questionable. And I'll just leave it there for now.
Yeah, I would kind of lean towards a little concerning, seeing that this is certain topics and people are really digging their heels into the ground with some of these answers and responses. And their rationale is what's kind of an eye opener with all this kind of craziness.
Well, definitely the past few weeks, actually, the people have been out. The fun police
Oh, yeah,
have been on full patrol.
very much so.
And I mean, it's not the first time we've had this issue with the fun police.
No.
No, the very first distinct thing I can remember the fun police rearing their ugly head, loud head, was my personal favorite, the soft guy era. I thought those skits were clever. They were funny. I thought they were funny.
Yeah.
And then I liked it. They started playing off each other, and it was great. It was all good fun. We sent to each other, like, oh, this is great. I guess I got merch, sweatpants that are entirely too tight, but I digress. And then these videos start coming out of highly emotional, a little angry. I remember seeing the post. I'm like, why is she so mad?
Yeah.
Like, don't they know it's a joke?
I think that has that's gone over a lot of people's heads. What we call satire. And for those who don't understand what satire is, it's just joking around. It's just mere reflection of what one is doing and just poking fun at it.
Like,
But
I mean, I guess I can get it because that particular satire was aimed at people like me.
mhm.
But I
Okay,
got it because
can you
if you just sat and
specify
listened to
can
it,
you specify people like you? Because
uh,
sometimes you can't just say that and people just kind of fly
those
off the handles.
of the females, women,
Yes. Hmm.
women, particularly single women, really. Um, but if you like listen to it, it was outlandish. Like and I couldn't figure. I'm like, but don't they? It's a joke. Like they don't get it. And then we started sending those clips back and forth, and I was like, but
Hmm.
it's a. And then some women were like, it's a. They're kidding. It's
Right.
a joke. And then they got Colo types of names and whatnot, and you're a pick me and fun stuff. And then some guys who chimed in like beating their chest, like
Hmm.
me no soft. Okay, you didn't get the joke either, but and I thought it was funny.
Yeah, I had a
I
good time with
really
it. I found it pretty hilarious.
thought they were
It
great.
just gave a reflection to what some guys, who are in the dating market and things like that. Like I've always said, a lot of this is drawn to the people of a younger age, but for some reason, people at their big age get into their feelings and get intertwined in this
Really
kind of.
got into their feelings, but they really got into their feelings, and they were just like, "No, this is wrong. This is wrong with the dating pool. The dating pool has pee in it, and this is why." And I was like, "Oh,
Yeah,
what was wrong?
it's always funny when people use
What were
that
you going through?"
rhetoric about the dating pool being, full of pee and stuff. And
Pee, poop, dead bodies floating. The description changes every so often.
But the irony of it is that they forget they are part of it. So I'm
saying the dating pool is what you make of it.
Correct. Absolutely.
That's what it is. But that was my first, and we've seen other things happen since then, but that's the first distinct one that it was like a very broad backlash to a joke that to me was not derogatory in any kind of way. It was not offensive. It was legitimately poking fun. I could see there was something like derogatory or offensive. Okay, fine, I get it, but it was not. It was literally the male version of female videos.
Right.
Literally is what it was. It was just a guy's voice to it. That's all it was.
Yeah. I think a lot of it was because, a lot of it was taken very, very personal.
Yeah.
A lot, I guess even in a joking manner, it just showed how men felt going out into the dating world, or some of the, responses, which are kind of eye-opening. From anywhere you take your date to go eat, the amount of money you spend. What else is there? The kind of car you drive.
I did not appreciate the Cheesecake Factory slander. It's delicious.
Yeah, which to this day I don't really understand, because cheesecake, they offer like a plethora of stuff. So I don't really understand where the angriness
How can you be mad at a place that has 40 different types of cheesecake?
Yeah.
How are you mad at that? Delicious.
People have to pick and choose their arguments. That's where it all boils down to.
But the latest thing now, well, I think it has fading off. The 100 Men versus the Gorilla. That you were sending me stuff. It was like, the stitches response, and I'm asking him, like, what the hell are they talking about? What is this 100 Men with Gorilla thing? Because I had no idea. I kept seeing you were sending me stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then my FIP stuff with stuff, and I'm scrolling through, and I was like, I still don't understand where this came from.
Right.
And so I'm asking, like, well, I don't know what they're talking. Like, what are they talking about?
Yeah. So to give a little context to it, from my understanding, it started off again as satire. I think it was just people having the conversation, and it was brought up in mixed company, I guess, and once these kind of conversations come out into the social media atmosphere, it kind of takes a life of its own. Yeah. So everybody tried their best to put their scholarly intelligence and their secret ops and all their special skills and whatever. It just got thrown out there, and people just, like I said, it just took a life of its own, whether you agree with it or not, or whether you felt brave, or you were living in this kind of time where you thought you were the men of all men. That's where it went. And I think some people, like you most notably said, the fun police came, of course, because they can't just let people just talk and let the conversation kind of wither away. They kept it alive, and they gave it some more life, and boy, did it life. It became the topic of discussion. You could hear it on the Breakfast Club. You can hear it on just about any airway, any influencer. It could have been like Joe Schmo that had like one follower was talking about it.
I heard the other variations. Could you send me like the 100 Women versus Accountability, which I know you found personal joy in. But digress.
Of course.
There's a couple other things, and then usually when that happens, like eventually like the original post pops up. I have yet to this day see the original post. What the hell are these people talking about?
Yeah, like I said, I think it ultimately was just a joke, and it was just conversation. Because
it reminds me of the Man versus Bear.
Oh yeah, well,
everything. It was just a now rhetorical question. I think is how you say it. Of man was a street interviewer,
right?
And one comment, and it went worldwide.
Well, I mean, that took a different connotation because people, most notably women, because it was more so directed to women and their feelings as far as like I think safety got thrown in there.
But even some of the takes were still outlandish.
Oh, I agree,
Like
but
man versus bear, and this is why. And I'm like,
this is what you're going to get when people try to sit there and justify like these things. And like me and you have talked about it at length. Like, I think people are getting into the mode. It's either they're running out of stuff to talk about, or they really do deep down believe this kind of stuff. And I'm like, I don't really know if this is the route you want to go. I don't know if you want to. Do you know what a bear looks like? Do you want to even be within 100 feet of a bear? I don't
well,
think you
even
want to do
the
that.
gorilla ones, they're like, oh well, there's different type of gorillas. And when I look up the other gorillas, I'm like, it's still a gorilla. It can still, I'm gonna assume, crush your skull. I mean, granted, the first thing that came to him was a silverback. It was it's the first incident, which and that's a
Mhm.
big boy. He's big. But like, and then people are just, well, it's different type of gorillas. I'm like, it's still a gorilla.
Yeah,
Like, is a baby elephant still not going to kill you? It's still an elephant just because the baby is not. It can't crush you. Like,
yeah.
makes no sense.
I think the sound waves that are out there, I think people are really have an overinflated sense of self with these kind of things. I'm like,
Well, that's generally speaking for lots of things, but
I
I mean, in a
think
way, social media, I guess, is doing its job. I mean,
it
this is what
is,
social media
but like
is.
it also highlights the delusion that exists. And it's just it's crazy.
Well, it's
I
what
don't
makes
know
the
where we're
world
going
go
this.
around. It's what makes the world go around. It's
Yeah,
what makes
but
keeps people warm at night.
yeah, I don't know. I mean, the delusion is at an all time high. I'll just say that, and I think people need to really understand. Like I think you alluded to it already. When you think gorilla, the the trademark, the mainstay that everyone is looking at is a silverback. I
Yeah,
don't think people understand
big.
what a silverback because they're like hunched over, or you're just like watching it on Animal Planet or something. That is a
It's
big creature,
enormous.
and that's them hunched over. When they're capable of standing up straight, like
Yeah,
we are
when you
walking.
see them, they're chilling, having lunch. They're
Correct.
not provoked.
But this is what I'm trying to explain. That's them hunched over.
Oh yeah,
They can stand up. When they stand up, they are upwards of almost 7 feet in some cases.
and they're
And
broad, just solid muscle.
right, if you wanted to do it from an analytic standpoint, they can bench press almost a ton. So I really don't see why. First of all, why would you put yourself in that predicament? This is what I'm trying to understand. But again, I don't have these kind of conversations. I got other stuff going on in my life to fester in. But having this kind of conversation, joke or not, I don't imagine this battle is not going to last long.
But
Granted,
hearing
yeah,
people try to justify though, it itself is humorous. Cause you've heard things like this before, like man versus kangaroo.
yep,
Kangaroo is like 8, 9 feet tall, solid muscle,
yep,
and they can swim. They're big. One of the most dangerous animals in the world is a hippopotamus.
right,
Never. I'm like, that can't be true. And I Googled it and I was like, oh,
yeah,
hippos are angry and they're fast.
yeah. You see, like how people call athletes like movements, and they say fast twitch.
Mhm.
Yeah, animals don't twitch. They kind of move at a certain speed that's unexplainable. It's never really measured accurately, and that's a reason. There's a reason why you don't go near animals to like disturb them in any way, shape, or form. But for some reason, some people, some group thinks that this is a great discord to have in understanding that 100 men can sit there and play around. I'm not even going to say fight because it's not good. It's not even going to be close. I think either they've watched too much King Kong movies, or they saw of the Apes one too many times, and they are like overwhelmed with pride in some way that they think
If
this is going to
someone's
happen.
point of reference is Planet of the Apes,
Right.
just stop the conversation and just walk away.
Yeah.
Because you will lose sleep over it. Just go. Just
Yeah.
go.
Unfortunately,
Arguing with AI, just go away.
yeah. Unfortunately, this is like as you said, that social media is doing what it's supposed to do. It's working perfectly fine, in the sense that it's providing these kind of conversations, and people are really trying to validate their positioning.
But even like some of the like, what were some like other posts that I was like, it was so innocent yet went like haywire. I don't remember. Has to be a couple months now. There was a post, and these were kids. They were teenagers, but they were kids that were very happy that they had the matcha lattes, and they got ripped apart. I'm like, okay, first of all, you're talking about children. They were high school. I want to say high school kids, and they were excited to get a matcha latte, and they are ripped apart. I'm like, you're talking about minors. You're taking this a little too seriously. They're minors. And they had a matcha latte. So what? Matcha, I think, tastes like grass blades, but that's just me. But because it's a matcha latte, they can't have it because they're male. That's the dumbest thing I've heard. Or the other one, it was a girl. Can't remember, she was on a date or something, but she got a major ick because he put sprinkles on his ice cream. Thank God he didn't get hot fudge and a whipped cream, because her world would have come to a crashing halt.
Oh man,
And she had sprinkles. I'm like, okay, the man can't have ice cream.
Yeah, well, there's forever going to be a list. I mean, it leads us into our next thing where everything a male does apparently is sassy. So I have no idea where we're going with all this. Honestly, like I said, it's been a couple weeks, and people, as everybody would say, they've had time. They had a lot of time.
That one always comes back. It gets quiet, but it always comes back though.
Oh,
that's a never dying.
But there's been a prophet among prophets that has come out. I think they call him the DL Whisperer. He's floating around on like all social media platforms, telling women primarily what men are doing, what signs to look out for, what key points and things like that. And I'm like, so like I never really pay attention to these things ever, because someone is always going to have a problem with something. But you have, again, like I said, a prophet of some sorts to come out of the woodworks and start telling you if he goes to the gym too much, or if he does such and such. He just gave a bunch of examples, which is like everyday life for not even only men, just everybody. And
that's the thing. But you said it before. Everyone at some point is going to have a problem with something. That automatically does not. I mean, I guess for the particular person, it could disqualify them for whatever reason, whatever case it be. I don't know. But in my lifetime, I have never, at least not out loud, said, he must be gay. He must be this. He must be that. Just based on literally just putting my eyes on them.
Right.
And we said this before, putting labels like that on people can put them in very precarious situations.
Yeah.
It can be a dangerous situation. And that's not a notion you just fly around loosely like that. But it's the dumbest things.
I think if people do it, especially now, but I mean, it's always been done. It's relatively in like relationships, if a breakup occurs, or like, the person that is just like that deeply rooted in rage or something, and is just saying stuff just to say it. But I
understand the relationship part of it, because I'm angry, bitter, whatever you want to call it. But it's when it gets to the point that you're putting this into people that you do not know. You don't know these people.
Right.
All of a sudden, the guy at the gym you're labeling, do you know him? Have you had a conversation? Do you even know the man's name? That's my thing. Is people are going to say things after breakup that will never go away.
Right.
But that's an emotional anger thing. But to call someone that you don't know, especially the ones like because they didn't take you out, now they're sassy. No, because they
Well,
didn't take you out.
no.
Because what? Oh, that he must be because he didn't. It's possible that he just didn't like you.
Well, I mean, it always begs to question personal preference, right? I think you're not in this day and age. You're not allowed to have it in some respects because if you do have preference, you are automatically being judged. I think in every corner, whatever you do, whatever we do, we're going to be judged regardless. I
Yeah.
think it also bears conversation of like, you know, you not conforming or doing something for someone that automatic I think you said it already, it automatically assumes that you're sassy or expressing some form of feminine tendency, and because you don't fit the mold of what that person wants, so you're not a man, or you're not the caliber of man that they're used to or whatever. And again, people doing all this kind of stuff, you pointed to it, it's very harmful, very dangerous. uh, I just don't understand why people don't see that, because these are the same people that are going to try to make an uproar, because then you're giving the said ammo of that person not to like a particular group.
Yep.
In turn, we have laws in this country, that can land you in prison or a long, lengthy, fine in some way, shape, or form, because people don't take this thing lightly. Like,
No.
again, I don't have any problem or issue with the LGBTQ plus community. You understand? But
Yeah.
I do understand that they are people. They live their life how they live their life.
Right.
And that's it. Okay. But like, if we're going to sit here and play around with narratives, which a lot of people do, you're playing a very dangerous game.
Yeah. But imagine men started putting up videos,
Mm-hmm.
doing the same thing. Oh, she's masculine.
Yep.
She's very, man-like. This is over. She does this. She does this. She's what? She's a. So what's the other version? If they do this, they're a closet stud. Like how ridiculous does that sound? But if a guy ever did it, world would be set on fire. If a guy tried to do the same thing about women.
Yep. 100%.
Roasted, split open, and just it'd get very messy very quickly.
Well, this is this is the world that we live in. I think amongst a lot of things, and I'm not trying to like plead a case or cop a plea in any shape or form. Men are really hamstrung about the stuff that we can do or say. I think I've told other female friends of mine as well. I'm like, do you know the social media is not meant for men? Like this whole thing that goes on, like we're not allowed to go do the back and forth with a female.
No, you be sassy, sir.
Right. And that's just strictly behind the lines of just typing, whether it's your phone or on your laptop or wherever you do all your things. And then also on the other side, the physical aspect, where like if a female puts hands on you, you're not allowed to hit back. But if in the event it looks like she got the up on you, it doesn't paint you in a good light either. You lose. You're damned if you do, and you're damned if you don't.
And you hear many stories too that men were terribly mistreated.
Yep.
And didn't do anything. Why? Because the moment they do, they start crying to the four winds. Look what he did to me.
Yep.
So they keep it quiet. So we've seen cases now that men had to, because they couldn't just say it, to be like, she did what to you? Okay, sure. Because looking at it, like there's a size. How? So a lot of men have resorted to recording. They've recorded their wives trying to poison them, doing other things. The mistreatment had to be recorded. That's the only way they could get out of it. And it's sad. I'm sure there's a lot more out there.
Of course.
But, men, a girl's beating you up? Oh, come on. How can that be? Like you said, one backhand and his life is over. For the most part.
So my question to you is that, like, even, right now we're having fun with it, but like on a more serious note, you hear a lot of females talk about they want to see men be more vulnerable and, express more emotional intelligence. Now, with all the buffoonery that's out there, how does that coincide? Like, how does that exist if all you're going to do as a man is be criticized? You're going to be shut down. You're going to be shamed. And, there's going to be labels galore. And I don't think a lot of women understand. I'm not going to say they're turning a blind eye to it, but I don't think they really understand, because a lot of what I get from women when you hear them, and I try to listen, I do a very good job of listening, is that they feel women have been screwed over for so long. They feel that, women are in positions where they can take the lead, and, the whole hyper independence, rah, rah, hear me roar kind of behavior. And they can do bad all by themselves. So I think this is where we're at. But there's always the question in the back channels of, why can't he be vulnerable with me, or vulnerable, period? Why can't he express an ounce of emotional intelligence?
I think part of it is that people don't understand what that means.
Good.
Like, I want a man that's emotionally intelligent. But when that man is emotionally intelligent, it's a problem. Like, yeah, because what you thought it was and what it actually is are two very different things. And I think that's the problem. I wanted to be vulnerable. I wanted to be this. And then you do have a vulnerable moment and you're weak. Why? Well, yeah. Because guys aren't supposed to show emotion. Guys are supposed to be this. I'm like, okay, so which is it? You can't. It's one thing or the other. It's not on every third day you change it. It's not the mood that you happen to be in that day. That's not how that works. And I think part of it is that emotional intelligence is a buzzword. It's a trend. It's a trending topic. People talk about it. That's what they want. But you don't hear people explain what that is. Because if you explain to what that is, I'm guarantee you all these want to be like, oh, that's what that means? Oh, okay. And they're like, nope, that's not it. And I think part of how can I word this? I think part of the women, I can't speak. This is just an assumption and opinion. Don't kill me for this. Not you, just generally speaking. No one kill me for this. But I think part of the vulnerability part is being softer in a way that she can walk all over you.
So in essence, they want to step.
They don't want to be told no. You're too hard. You're too rigid. Be more soft. Be more okay, baby. Whatever you want. I think that's part of vulnerable. I think people taking like vulnerability interchangeably as soft. So two very different things. Well, vulnerability to me is an openness.
Right. But not to cut you off, but I think also, we have the lingo simp. And I think a lot of, guys will say that, okay, so you just want a simp. You just want someone to just adhere to everything that you want and like his feelings just doesn't matter.
A yes man.
But and yes, that's fine. Obviously, we know in this world we live, it happens.
Mm-hmm.
But
It does.
I guess the second you get that, why is it women don't like it?
But that's what I'm trying to say. I think people, you hear all these words and then you get it and they're like, oh, that's what that is? Oh. Yeah, okay, I don't want that. Because they don't know what it is. And I think people don't understand that simp is short for simpleton.
Mm-hmm.
If you only knew what a simpleton was, you probably want to use the word simp. Because the context of simp, how they use it, and simpleton are they're two different things.
Right.
And I think I'm like, no, I'm like, you mean on a simpleton. And that's not the same thing. Because what we discussed before, what is a functioning, healthy, I'll say mostly healthy, adult relationship is not the one, whether it be man or woman, being the yes person.
Mm-hmm.
That's very one-sided. It's not going to work. It's going to run its course. People you're gonna tire out the other person.
Of course.
Part of it is being able to speak to each other. That's openness. That is vulnerability. Vulnerability is it's openness. It's just wanting to share not even so much feeling, but just it's not always feelings. And it's not always feelings. Sometimes it's just thoughts in your head. It's not always about feeling.
Okay.
It's just what happened. Work was terrible today. What happened at work? And it's just the being able to just get things off your chest, not have it thrown back at you, not being judged about it, open to discussion. That to me is vulnerability, that you're able to share with me how your day went, things like that, what work is aggravating you, whatever the case may be, to have a back and forth. That is vulnerability to me. That's how I take it as. Not just always emotional. That gets exhausting after a while.
Yeah. I agree with your positioning with it, and you explained it thoroughly. I think from a man's standpoint, I'll tell you why it's pretty difficult for a lot of men to do that is because a lot of it, we know the information will get kind of twisted.
Yes.
It's not going to be received well. We get taken out as the main character of our own story, and the female inserts themselves in it and just makes it about them. There's constant interruptions. And I'm not trying to be funny, but it's much longer of a list than what a lot of women understand. And it's not comforting. It's not like we sit here and like jot down. Like there's no diary for us. Maybe there's diaries for some men. I don't knock it if you do it, journaling, diary, whatever. But there isn't none. You know what I mean? It's just we kind of sit with our thoughts, and then there are times where, yes, can we fly off the handle? Of course. Are there times where we're silent? Yeah, more times than none. But I think what females have to understand is, number one, we're not like you. We're not like you. The whole being expressive and stuff like that, most men are not like that. I know women would appreciate that.
I'd love it.
I think it's something where people just have to like understand that like everyone processes things differently. Just like everyone runs around here talking about love languages and things like that, how they like to receive their love language and how they express love and stuff like that. It's different. So it's basically the same format applies, but just it doesn't highlight enough to where it's not to the liking of a female, because with females, I feel you guys like things outwardly. And then with men, it's like we like everything kind of even keel just to hear our thoughts.
Right.
But, it has to be a happy medium somehow, right?
Which
And
I understand that part, and I've been guilty of cutting people off and being highly emotional. I think part of it too is like if you have a good relationship that's progressing, eventually it will get to the point that the guy will open up to his partner for things, because I personally, that's the natural progression of things. Like how you would know someone 5-10 years and shared nothing. I personally think that's kind of weird. That's a long time to not share anything,
right.
type of thing. Off the bat, don't no. And I think part of it too is women want it now.
Well, yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know you like that to share some things that I think about, things that may have happened to me, whatever the case may be. It's a natural progression. I think part of the issue is they want it now.
Yeah.
They want vulnerability on the first date.
Right. You hit it right on the head. I think with a lot of women, if not all, you guys operate on timelines. And if certain timelines aren't, or, and it can get time sensitive. So like if certain things don't like kind of click at certain spots, that depiction of like, oh, this might be a lost cause, or I'm just wasting my time. And, it just turns into that rabbit hole where ultimately you guys, I think, in some ways think it's a failure because you feel like the time is just being wasted. And I don't know.
I've felt like that before.
Right. But from a guy's standpoint, it's like we're going to move when we're ready. I don't know. And I know that's not a comforting response in any way, shape, or form, but I think that's also the adjustment of getting to know someone. I don't think you are going to get with someone and automatically think like they're going to assume your habits and behaviors and know and do that, because if that, then that's a recipe for disaster, because you're putting that expectation out there, and if that person isn't ready to move, then it's a lost cause.
Well, like for women, we do run on a timeline, and for some situations, the timeline is a particular cause for concern. Something we've touched base on before.
Mm-hmm.
For us, I guess if it gets to a certain point, we start cutting people off, because for us, we do have an actual deadline. If there are some things we want to try to obtain. But the other hand is like, all right, some people they just go at two different speeds. Yeah. It happens. That's just the way life is. But those are things that warrant some type of conversation. Like no one likes where are we going with this conversation, but sometimes they have to be had.
Yeah, I agree.
Because at some point, if I have my own personal time that I'm trying to meet, it's not like arbitrary things, but biological things. Kind of has to be had. And I understand if you two are not on the same page, and I'm not talking about 6 months. I'm talking like, 2, 3, 5 years.
Right.
And it's a touchy subject, but like in some instances, I get the timeline, because I could see the finish line here. I have to get this thing going. But it does warrant a conversation, because it could be the guys I do see this with you, just not at this exact moment. Okay. So you do have a common goal. It's just when you're reaching that goal is different. But warrants a conversation. Now it's the other person. Are you okay with sticking around to hopefully get to this goal? Or are you tired of waiting? But I think
Uh,
some things is just expectation. My favorite word in the whole world.
I
And
I
some
understand
expectations
that,
have to be
but
well, but just generally speaking, some expectations have to be, I think, discussed.
right. I
Or
think
like someone like who wants children and the other one's like adamant, I do not want kids. And you know it's a deal breaker. Why are you mad 5 years later you don't have kids? I'm like, they told you that is not one of their life goals. Things there's some life goals that don't change. And no person can change it. If you try to, you get a lot of resentment or moving or things or even something as simple as living expenses has caused major fights because things were not discussed ahead of time. Things were assumed, never assumed. And now like things aren't getting done. Well, I thought you were gonna do it. I didn't know I had to do that. Discussion.
yeah.
Talking. Just talk to the person.
Um, I agree to some of what you say, but
Mhm.
there's also the other side, the other portion of the puzzle where, um, from a man's standpoint, sometimes we're just not ready. We're still, depending on where in life we are or whatever the case may be. And as you said, and I'm glad you said it, women do operate on a timeline. And like, I do know that for a fact. Like in my dating life, I know a lot of women have said, their expectations. Like I've had conversations because I think it's better to have certain conversations out in the open.
Right.
Like you said, if you are of age or at that stage in life where like childbearing is a thing, you have a conversation about it.
Yeah.
Like where you want to live, that's a conversation. I think where it gets hard is that when the finances doesn't match, and I think women take that as a personal attack,
Don't
and
match
then
in what respect though? Like we make the
like
same money or
no, more in the sense that the guy wants to provide, no matter like all the funny business that people like to talk about and throw out there. The guy wants to provide. He wants to feel like the man.
right.
So, like, if he's not at a certain stature of where he wants, there's certain things that kind of fall by the wayside. Maybe not fall by the wayside, but it gets put on pause because all his energy is put forth into the direction of trying to be
Career,
successful.
whatever. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
So, like, in
I
that
can understand
term,
that though.
that's pressing. You can understand it, but there are plenty of women that do not. And I think that's where the problem of sitting down and having a heartfelt conversation, because I think now more so than ever, it's easy to be like, I'm not happy. Do you explain what I'm not happy means? No, a lot of women do. They just
No.
say I'm not happy, and they kind of go, do whatever it is that they go do, and then you have all the cliches. The grass isn't green on the other side. They become bitter. They start playing around,
They
and
become fun police.
right, and a lot of them just either try to go capture and relive their younger years with friends that are also in the same state of mind. Like it's just a whole thing. But
Right. Oh God.
it's one of those things where it's like everything is put on Front Street because again, social media plays a part. Every it takes a toll on people because it gives the opportunity for some people, to check on whoever the said person is or pay attention to their location. Like, even now people are giving locations out on the phone and I have no idea. All that
We
kind of
hear
stuff.
the posts too. I know you've come across these before that posts of like or like women like how they were like women shouldn't be when you help like a man build himself up once they reach their goal they leave you,
Hmm.
so don't do it. Find yourself a man that's already established. You hear those types of comments too, or don't be a build a husband type of thing because you're not going to see the benefit. The next person's going to see the benefit of it. Like you hear those posts a lot too.
Mhm.
So you get the man who has, I have a plan. Like I have a plan. I haven't worked the details out yet, but I see this for myself. And they're automatically disqualified. Like, oh, you're not there yet? Yeah, you can't talk to me. And that's it. And, you know, the man has potential. He has a plan. He may have worked ideas, but he sees himself, you know, and now he's plans don't take 2-3 years. They're like, he's like 10-year plans ahead of time.
All right.
But you hear posts to women of women saying, don't fall for a man for that. Don't fall for a man that doesn't have a plan. Don't build up a man because all he'll do is tear you down. Like those random I'm like, huh? I'm like, but the whole point of a true relationship or a true partnership is to build a life together. It's together to get two people. Two. It's not just one, it's two.
Listen, I look at it this way. I tend to look at things at a certain way. Social media and the whole dating thing, relationship, this is where the lifelines, these coaches, experts, relationship panels come into play, where they provide this conversation, right?
Mm-hmm.
They shouldn't really be in existence. You know why? Because the conversation needs to be solely utilized by two people, you and your said person. That's it. I think there are a lot of people out here who lack effort because when things get hard, they're ready to leave or they're ready to drop things. Like I think I had mentioned it earlier. Happiness, if it's, you know, they feel like it's being minimized or if it's being lowered, the energy of their happiness is just not where it needs to be.
But then you ask, well, what will make you happy? I don't know, but it's not this.
Right. Like it's just going to be a buffer for a reason to leave.
How was that? Okay. How was that an answer? I don't know. I just know I'm not happy. Okay. But if you don't know what is going to make you happy, like how do you know unless you voice I am not happy to your partner?
They don't want to.
Why aren't you happy?
Because they have to go to their board of directors, aka their friends, and they have to get their validation for it. And if they don't get the validation there, they hop on social media and write a whole bunch of quotes or look at whatever, and that becomes, you know, whatever their backbone, their support group.
There was the woman, she was a stay-at-home mom, and the husband worked like 64 hours a week. It's a lot of hours. Only had 1 day off a week, and she was mad that all he wanted to do was stay at home that one day.
Yeah.
And when this woman got dragged in her comments, they're like, we want a provider man, right? You got one. He works so much so you don't have to, and you're still not happy.
Yeah.
Because someone commented like, well, if he cuts back on his hours, are you going to get a job to maintain the same lifestyle you already have?
Yeah, it's not.
He don't want to be out. He want to be out. Because like, and people are like, ma'am, he's tired. Be happy he still wants to see you after 64 hours a week. Like, be happy. No, I'm like, Jesus, he's working 1.5 jobs every week so she could stay at home.
Yeah, I mean, well, there you see the appreciation is just not there because they think she either thinks the money grows off the ground, or you know, she just doesn't really respect that, like he's doing it to just like make you feel whole. He's not.
I was scared to look at the comments. I'm like, this could go either way. And I looked, and the majority, men and women, were like, do you hear yourself?
Right.
What? Why did you bring this to the world? So the world can drag you. It did not go well for her.
Yeah, as you would imagine. I wouldn't think it would. I think a lot of people do. Like I said, I think, you know, a lot of people have a hard time, you know, looking and thinking outside of themselves. That's really what I think it is. I just don't really see why is it so hard to just be human and just understand that, like, um, do you know what 50, 60 hour weeks or even 70-hour weeks hours a week look like?
That's disgusting. That's like 2 hours of sleep every day. That is
Correct.
disgusting.
And God forbid you have kids or whatever the case may be, depending on like the level of the relationship or whatever the case may be. Like, I just sometimes when some of these women hop on there and they're providing some of these information, I'm just like, I don't think this is you know
He
I don't
works
know.
too much. I'm like, well,
That's like, so
he'll get a job. He'll stay home more. Like, I don't
yeah.
understand. It's a very easy fix.
But that's the thing. When he stays home, then there's a new
Well, that's
complaint.
another issue.
Right.
Yeah, get off her butt.
Yeah. But anyway, let's get past that. I think the newest thing.
Oh, there's a new thing?
The newest thing is what women are wearing to the gym. This is good. This is completely hilarious to me. I go to the gym. I've gone to the gym for 20 plus years of my life.
Yeah.
I'm pretty consistent at going to the gym. I'm not one that really notices these things. Like, do I know people are completely ridiculous at the gym? Yes. I don't pay attention necessarily to people's attire and stuff like that. But the person that came up with this argument, he has a point. I'm not going to lie. He has a point, because you know what ends up happening? You get placed in a position where it makes you look like a creep. Because if you go to the gym nowadays, everybody uses it as their personal studio. That's number one. They have their tripod. They have like their handler there, camera, this, that. It's the whole thing. Before it used to be the mirrors. Now forget it. It's just the whole production. So he raised a good point. And I think now you're seeing people come out of all kinds of woodworks talking about how he's wrong. My question to you, as a woman, you've been to the gym, you've gone to the gym, and I've sent you some of these clips and posts and things like that.
Yes.
Is he wrong in his line of thinking?
No. He's not. He's not. And he's proving what these women want. They're purposely trying to be a distraction. They want attention. They're technically meeting the goal of that's the whole point. Women who come naked, specifically naked women. It's not all women. It's not just tight clothing. Naked. It's a very fine line. But it's a very distinct small group that we're speaking about.
Right.
Okay. It's not about like the broad tops. No. Legit tiny see-through clothing.
All right.
Which in any space outside of a beach or pool, but whatever. I personally think if you're dressing like that, it's because you want eyes on you. You want to be a distraction. You want people to stop and stare. I don't care. You can argue with me. That's not when I wear it. You're a damn liar. No one walks out naked just to feel the breeze. That's not how that works. I don't care.
Yeah.
That's not how it works.
Yeah.
Is there, and like he said, and like he didn't say he stops his workouts. He goes and finishes what he started.
Right.
He does. But it's distracting to me. I can be labeled as a creep because sometimes I'm just like, I can't help. I have stared a couple times, not gonna lie. I'm just like, how is this a logical choice to be in public?
Yeah.
Some women's rebuttal are taking it to the other extreme. There are I wear what I want. I wear what I want. I wear what I want.
Right.
That's fantastic. But I told you this before. It's not a problem until the guy she don't want is the one giving her the attention.
But isn't that always the case?
It's always like that. You see
Right.
videos, oh my God, he was staring at me. I'm like, no, he wasn't. You do realize there's 20 people standing around you. He's just staring in your direction. He wasn't staring at you. You're not that cute, but it's fine. It's fine. But it's always, but will women fess up to that? No.
Of course not.
You're all are creeps. You're all are weird. We're going to live our life. Okay? There's nothing you can say about it. I don't think he was wrong. He was not saying all women, all of y'all. No. He was talking about a specific set of fashion.
Yeah.
You can even call it that. He was being fairly specific. People are taking it as to women just can't go to the gym, can't. I'm like, no, that's not what he said. But like you always say, we just stopped and listened to what he said. You want to say, I'm like, oh, he's not talking about me. Because people took it personal. I'm like, he's not talking about me. He's talking about, oh, okay. But that's never going to happen either. Your favorite. Just stop and listen.
Right. Yeah.
He wasn't.
I think what's humorous to me about this whole thing is that like the women that are actually there to work out, like they're coming to the defense of what he was saying, which
yeah,
you
there's
know,
been a few women.
Yeah, he's not wrong. And it also like the extreme level of what some of these women are wearing to the gym. Like I've seen it. I put my headphones and I like keep my head down and do whatever. But I have had a couple of occasions where I had to feel like I'm at an obstacle course of tripods because I'm coming from the bench press machine and they're blocking the way. So I have to like walk around and, you know, it begins to turn into a whole thing. Right. But like on the flip side of it, also, there are other people who, you know, frankly, just don't listen. I think they just want to listen to bits and pieces of the conversation and just say, oh, well, are you that much of a perv? Or if this, that, and that. Like it just, you know, it just turns into something where it didn't need to. And like, again, one thing I will admit about social media, it gives you the opportunity to go back and look at the original video. So you can listen and like let it wash over you and like register. But I think people just are like programmed to listen to the portions and pieces of what they want. And when they're easily disturbed, that's what they harp on and just kind of run with it.
But this same type of argument, we've heard the same argument over and over again for different situations. We go back to the office siren. People do not dress appropriate for work. Same thing. Time and place.
Right.
Time and place. What you're wearing is fine. Is it appropriate for the gym? No. What you're wearing is fine. Is it appropriate for work? No.
Right.
The body stockings to go grocery shopping. No. Does it look fine? It looks nice. Yes. Are we in a VIP lounge? No. We're at ShopRite. Time and place. That's really what it comes down to. There's a time for everything. What you're wearing, beach, pool, sure. Gym, maybe not so much. It's the same argument, just different players.
Right.
It's a time and place thing.
Well,
things are not appropriate all the time. They're not.
Yeah, it's you know, it's one of those things now. Like we're entering a space where I think you alluded to it a couple of times, where shame has to be re-entered into the conversation because I don't really think like there are a lot of people. Let's call it what it is. There are a lot of people wearing stuff, showing up, showing out to things that they have no business doing. I'm trying to find. I find it very hard to see some of these things when you walk outside, and it's
and
like,
the summer's coming.
Do you own a mirror, or do your friends even like you, or like you really thought walking around when it's torrential downpour in fluffy slippers was a great idea? I just maybe I'm too logical or I'm looking at it from a very, very specific standpoint.
That was the
But
fifth of the day.
I, you know, I've seen it, but whatever. We're never going to solve these things. But then again, it provides great discourse and for people to talk about it, and that's exactly what we do. Yaya, you want to close us out? What you got for closing statements?
Well, the fun police will. It's a new week, so it'll be a new topic. They're gonna ruin something for somebody. Can't wait to see what it is. They're just always gonna be there, loud and wrong. And social media, it just, I mean, as annoying as it is, it helps me fall asleep at night. It gives me something to talk about. It gives me stuff to send to you. I'm like, have you seen this yet?
Right.
Would you like? Can I have some commentary, please? Most of the time, you're like, no,
Yeah.
no commentary. It's a conversation piece. But no, the world needs to invest in their phone and Google definitions. Once people understand what words mean, they will start using them more appropriately. That's my hope.
Mm. Oh, that is good. Hopefully it does come around to common sense, but who knows? For my closing statements is that, listen, we live in a microwave society. People want what they want when they want it, and unfortunately, it comes to the good or the bad. So you just never know nowadays. I think a lot of conversations that are being had now, I know we poke fun of it. It just makes it seem like it's out of boredom and stuff, but these are actual conversations that people are having. Whether you think it's concerning or you think it's productive, whatever side of the coin you lean on, it's perfectly up to you. You're allowed to have your perspectives. No one's trying to knock you in any way, shape, or form about that. But when when the facts are not facting for you, I think you really need to take several seats and understand you need to sit this one out, because not everything is meant to be brought into the light. Because as I've stated in previous episodes, it gives vast opportunity for people to judge you, and boy, will they judge you, and you will be the talk of the town.
And then be mad that you getting judged.
Please. As it comes to like relationship stuff that we talked about, listen, I will always say, because we've talked a little bit about it before, a lot of it has to do with the communication aspect of you and your partner. You can sit here and play around with all these exterior stuff, even your homeboys and your homegirls. That's not it, because they don't understand what you and that person deal with from an emotional standpoint and just the bond that you and that person share. So, it's not like everything takes work. Everything bears understanding. And just because you're saying communicate doesn't mean you comprehend. And I think that's
Right.
the element that people are missing. So, like, I think people have to be very cognizant when it comes to that. As far as the gym girlies and wearing what they are wearing, listen, I'm gonna put it to you like this. You're going to wear what you want to wear. I think a lot of the time people are going to push the envelope. We've seen it all the time. But if it gets to the point where you start to see people and certain private areas are visible, or you can just have like an imagination, prints if you have to. I'll just say it. If you start to see prints,
you didn't have to imagine. It's right there in your face.
We have a problem. Like Houston, we literally have a problem.
But on stairs, you'd be a creep.
Yeah. But, just stay clear of that. I don't have an answer for that kind of stuff. I just, like I said, just stay clear of it, because you will be labeled as a creep, like you just finished saying, and it will just ultimately cause a problem. But in essence, people, just have a good night. Stay out of trouble. Keep your nose clean. The Queen of Snark has spoken. Me, the Boogeyman, has spoken. We would appreciate if you guys press like, you share it, and you express comments, whether good or bad. We have thick skin. We will reply. Trust me, we will reply. We are with all kinds of smoke.
Oh,
So
yeah.
therefore, that is our conversation, and that is our evening. So everyone, have a good night.
Bye.